port side. If you look way behind you there where you see those tall trees, that's where the first lighthouse was. It was a two-story stone structure. What gave it light? A wood-burning fire. Big ships out in the lake couldn't see it way back here, so when they extended that peninsula, they built the second lighthouse, which is what we have today. Following that long stone wall is a walkway. It's part of a parkland. It leads you to Lighthouse Point. Oh, the captain just turned down the air conditioning. Yay! Made by Lake Erie Incorporated. So looking on the port side, on the left, we are now approaching the Buffalo Lighthouse. Built a long time ago, back in 1833, shortly after the opening of the Erie Canal. So it was the guardian of the harbor, when Buffalo was one of the largest grain ports in the world. There are more fish in Lake Erie than all the other Great Lakes combined. Over 100 different kinds of fish. Now on the right, you're going to see a red buoy in the water. We will be turning around that buoy and entering the Niagara River. It marks the beginning of the river. So on the left is the vast, magnificent Lake Erie. On your right, the mighty waters of the Niagara River. It forms the natural boundary between Canada and the United States. It flows for 35 miles to Lake Ontario, making it one of few rivers on the continent to flow north. Now between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, there's a drop in elevation of 325 feet. This accounts for the rapid current in the river. It flows anywhere from 7.5 to 12 miles per hour as it rushes on its way to Niagara Falls. So Niagara Falls is actually the middle of the Niagara River. What we are traveling on now is the upper Niagara. Once you go over the falls, I don't suggest you do that though. Then you're on the lower Niagara. Go way to the right. The tallest building you see in western New York at 39 stories high. Formerly it was the HSBC Tower. Got sold a few years ago to investors from New York. It became Seneca One Tower. Just got sold again. And they still don't know what they're going to do with it. So keep tuned. Keep going to the right. The next big upright structure you see is the Marriott. Upscale accommodations as part of Harbor Center. Kim and Terry Pagola Street, heaven. The horizontal white roof right next to it on the right encloses two more hockey rinks. To the right of that, and also connected to the big green dome, First Niagara Center. Now that too is going to be changed September 19th to Key Bank Center, home to the Buffalo Sabres hockey team. The Bandits are a lacrosse team. And we host many wrestling matches, rodeos, monster truck competitions, concerts. Remember the other day when we met our acoustic here? Mike was in River and destroyed it. So they built a second fort. And again, ice came up off the river and destroyed it. So they built a third fort. But this one was better located. However, that one got blown up by the United States troops during the War of 1812. But that was the last time that American forces were on Canadian soil. So in 1937, the Canadian government completely restored the buildings to their present state. celebrating 100 years of peace between Canada and the United States. Now, it only took 2 years to build that bridge. Surprisingly, it was not built by the American or Canadian government, but with private funding from the Buffalo and Fort Erie public bridge constructors. Where the bridge begins on U.S. soil, there was a fort, Fort Porter, had to be torn down for construction of the bridge. Where it terminates in Canada, that land was owned by an American named Mr. Mather. Mr. Mather donated the land for the completion of the bridge. So in his honor, they have erected a monument known as Mather Arch. So if you look to the Canadian shoreline right now, you'll see 3 flags flying, and just beyond them is a tan stone monument with 3 arches. That is Mather Arch, the only monument in Canada that gives tribute to an American. Now in the middle of the bridge, you're going to see 3 flags flying. The one on the left is red and white with a maple leaf. What country's flag would that be?
Canada.
Canada. On the right, red, white, and blue, stars and stripes forever. What country's flag would that be?
America.
United States of America. In the middle, though, here comes a tough one, is a light blue flag. Anybody know whose flag that is? It's not a country. First clue. It's a group of countries.
United Nations.
United Nations.
Yep.
Just look at the surge, the current of the water here. Right after the abutment, you can appreciate the whirlpool action where it swirls around in a circle. Kind of even with the second abutment, we see an unusual structure in the water. Yeah, many people thought it was a sunken barge. My son thought it was Captain Nemo's submarine. It's the old water intake. It was built back in 1876. Its unusual design was to protect it from ice damage. Now, just this past year, there's 3 new poles that went up, both on the American side and the Canadian side. These 3 great big post pillars. There's wires running across from that one to that one. It has colorful balls on it. The school kids thought it was a zip line. Exciting ride. No, we actually get a lot of our electricity from Canada, believe it or not. There's quite a few sources. This is one of them. That our crew has to lower our radar and our antenna because we clear this bridge by less than 2 feet.
Although you probably can't tell, there's a road on this side of the bridge, a very narrow road to drive your car over.
Is that the one where you have to have the special pass to go across and use when you go to the casinos?
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Is that the one? That's not the one.
Oh, okay.
The one we're going to go over is across
Here we
the
go.
canal on the other side. And I just saw the Border Patrol car. It's always there. You might be able to see it right here when we go through. He's always parked there. Right there. See, you can see only the top of it.
Sit down.
This is the bridge, but the part we're going to go over just crosses the canal.
No problem. wasn't 2 feet of clearance. And I said, well, next trip, you go up on the roof and measure as we go under it. She didn't want to do it. So the area we are now approaching is known as Riverside. Previously, Riverside was known as towpath. It was the towpath of the Erie Canal. You'll notice that the New York State Thruway parallels the waterfront through this section. That's where the Erie Canal once ran. When they decided to fill in the Erie Canal, it actually became the bedrock for the New York State Thruway. Behind us, where you see that big yellow roof, many years it was known as Harry's Grill. It got sold a few years ago, and now it's known as Aqua.
Harry's Harbor
So
Site.
it actually fell into the water. Took that building down with it. Now that's where the sailboats, you know when you come down the Erie Canal, how they have low bridges, everybody down, and people have to put their masts down to fit under the low bridge. When they come out of it, that's Tonawanda Creek up north, they come down here, and that big boom was putting the mast up for all the sailboats. So they'll have to be done somewhere else for a little while. The twin brick buildings just beyond it are Civil War construction. Used to be a foundry where they made cannonballs.
Picture?
So we are now approaching the Black Rock Lock. Built back in 1908 and 1913 at a cost of $1.75 million, it replaced a much smaller lock that was built way back in 1824 in order to accommodate those huge lake vessels when they came into use. So the present lock is twice as wide, 6 times longer than the original lock. So if you look at the gate that's in front of us, the water on the other side of that gate is 6 feet higher than we are. Once we're inside, we are going to tie up. No one gets off the boat, we all stay on. It's important that anyone on the left-hand side of the boat keep your hands and all body parts inside the boat, because we will be coming in direct contact with that concrete wall. So once we're tied up, then the back gates will close. Then valves in the front gate will open, and 3.5 million gallons of water will fill the lock. Probably won't be able to feel the boat rising. So if you look at the watermark on the concrete wall, you can follow our progress. So now that we've been raised up the 6 feet that we lost, you can look over the top of the concrete wall, see a beautiful parkland here that was developed here at the north end of Unity Island. We are now leaving the Black Rock Lock. And we'll be traveling on the Black Rock Canal, all built at the turn of the century in order to make it easier for those huge lake vessels to travel upstream without having to fight the strong river current of the Niagara River. It's about 3.5 miles long, extends from the Black Rock Lock back to the Buffalo Harbor. Now this whole area at one time was very busy with shipbuilding. Buffalo had the largest shipyards on the Great Lakes for over 50 years, from 1912 to 1962. Matter of fact, way back in 1674, Father Hennepin had ordered the construction of the Griffin, a little bit more north of here, came through these waters, and then waited in the Black Rock area for the weather to change, then went on to be the first ship to ever sail Lake Erie. On the left, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They built the lock, they built the bridges, they maintained them, all covered by our federal tax dollar. Approaching on the left, on the port side, is another interesting bridge. This is the swing span bridge. So this bridge actually swings around in a circle in order to open up so we can go on by. When it was first built, it was turned by a team of mules. Today it's turned by a 100 horsepower electric motor. One of a few of its kind that is still in operation in the United States. Now here comes a classic cabin cruiser. Old-time vintage. Some beautiful wood in there. So in the middle of the bridge is the little house, and there's the bridge operator. Let's wave to him and say, thank you. Have a great day. Once we pass the bridge, you can observe it closing. It's a pretty awesome sight. The boat. Straight ahead of us, we see two red buoys in the water. These mark where the waters of the Skajagwada Creek empty into the Black Rock Canal. Now on our right now is Unity Island. Now that we made the turn, it must be on our left. Unity Island was formed over many, many years by deposits from the Skajagwada Creek. During the War of 1812, there was a lot of action here. Actually, the U.S. Navy shipyard was located right on the Skajagwada Creek. But back then, it was 1,000 feet more north of where we see it today. It got rebuilt. We see a large complex with many, many windows on it. That is Rich's Research Center. Mr. Rich is the pioneer who first invented the non-dairy creamer. He has expanded his line to include frozen desserts and barbecue sauces, pizza dough, etc. Competes in over 100 other countries. He has invested $18 million into this building the last couple of years and converted it into an innovation center. But But he believes in Buffalo. He's also the owner of the Buffalo Bison baseball team. And I think they actually won a game yesterday, didn't they? Yeah, I think they did. Anyone been to a baseball Spirit of Buffalo there? Now, also on that same site, back around the time of World War I, we were busy building airplanes. One of 5 or 6 other locations where we were building planes for World War I, we built the Jenny here, the JN-4. One of those planes was suspended over the atrium of this complex for many years, but when they converted it over to an innovation center, they transferred it up to Niagara Falls. It's at the Aerospace Museum building now. Here again, looking out the bow of the boat, is another interesting bridge. This is the Ferry Street Lift Bridge. So this bridge, contrary to the last bridge that went around in a circle, this one goes up and down like a teeter-totter. The big black you see on the left-hand side is actually a 500-ton concrete counterweight that helps to lift the bridge. So this kind of bridge is called a bascule bridge, a French word for seesaw or teeter-totter. Right now, as you can see, it's lifted up to the heavens so we can go on by. All last season, this bridge was not available to us as they did some renovation work on it. I believe they spent $8 million on the bridge. So far, this season, it's working. This bridge was originally built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in 1913. In 1963, the city of Buffalo took over maintenance and operation of the bridge. It is the main entranceway onto Unity Island. All right, where'd that breeze go to? Huh? Here again, there's a house with the operator. Let's all wave to him and say thank you.
Thank you.
You have a great day. Keep cool. Because they needed greater clearance for those huge lake vessels. So here, the support is on top of the bridge, and it is called a Parker Truss, one of the larger of its kind in the United States. And once again, we're passing the old water intake that I pointed out earlier. It is connected to the Massachusetts Avenue pumping station we are now passing on the left. Still be used in case of an emergency. Now, you know, for many years, the reputation of the Peace Bridge was congestion, stop and go, bumper-to-bumper traffic. So in an attempt to alleviate this congestion, we are building a larger plaza area on the American side. They've also developed a tunnel that puts you directly onto the 190 heading north. And part of the project is they created a wonderful observation deck, which we are approaching now. It's not completed yet, but nearing completion. Here's 2 kayakers. Okay, want to have some fun? Sing row, row, row your boat to them? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Sing it, Rollins. So once you're up on this observation deck, it has like a little canopy over it. You see they're putting the final touches on it. You can enjoy the beautiful view then of the Peace Bridge and the Niagara River, Canada, Black Rock Canal. Also part of their project, they're restoring Front Park to its original club has relocated to. You see, at one time their clubhouse was back there on Unity Island, but they had a big fire in 1972. Rather than rebuild on the island, they relocated here to Cotter's Point. The same area, back around the time of the War of 1812, was known as Sandy Town. It was a rowdy beach settlement for the veterans of the War of 1812. Many of you are admirers of fine architecture. Here on the left, we are now approaching the Frank Lloyd Wright Boathouse. Frank Lloyd Wright, the famous architect, drew up the plans for this boathouse back in 1905 for the University of Wisconsin rowing team, but they never built it. They already had one, didn't have additional funds for another one. So we here in Buffalo built it for the first time in the year 2008 at a cost of $5.6 million. It is an active rowing boathouse, and they are affiliated with the West Side Rowing Club, which is the brown brick building that we are now passing. So it is available to the public for showers, or conferences, any big event in your life. Beautiful on the inside. Now, they stayed relevant to the materials that were used back in 1905, so there's no pressure-treated wood used anywhere in the construction of that building. Some people refer to it as Fontana House. Fontana Boathouse, I should say. Here comes a nice toy. Laboratory. It's operated by the State University College at Buffalo. It operates one of the best equipped research labs on the Great Lakes. Their boats are in the water from April through November, taking samples of water, fish, plankton, etc. There goes some neat rowers. Right after it, we see an old stony inlet. This is where a ferry boat would pull up and trains would get on the ferry boat to cross the Niagara River. Right after that, the big white building with the green shutters on it formerly was the Chief Petty Officers Club of the Naval and Marine. Fell into great disrepair, so the last couple of years they completely gutted the interior, restored the exterior to its original design. It is a landmark building. Today it is the Navy Boathouse. The two boats tied up in front are used for training new recruits in the summertime. Right after that, the gray building with the pretty blue awning on it is the Buffalo Yacht Club. It is the third oldest yacht club in the United States. It is the oldest yacht club on the Great Lakes. It was established back in 1860. These engines are no longer in use. 3 of them are still in working order. The facility is still in use, utilizing our modernized engines. There's a river runner right through the end of it. It's supposed to be beautiful on the inside. Once a year, they do open up to the public for a tour. And this year, it is on September 17th at 1:30 in the afternoon. the left, we are now passing a beautiful parkland. Today it's known as Naval Park. Wasn't always that. If you look on the right, on the starboard side, once again we're passing that shorter, older wall, known as Donnelly's Wall. I pointed out right at the beginning of the tour. It's the one with the sand pile on this side of it. One of the purposes for its construction was to prevent that sand from drifting across here where they caused a sandbar. And the big ships couldn't get into the Buffalo Harbor. They'd have to transfer the cargo onto smaller boats. And actually on the mainland on the left, at one time, we had sand dunes that were 50 to 60 feet high. But industry trucked it all away. And then that area became the dumping grounds for the dredgings and diggings of the Erie Canal. And then it got smoothed over and it was converted into Centennial Park. But today we know it as LaSalle Park. Now, some of you might know it more as Front Park, where you went to watch submarine races. I never could figure that out. How can you watch a submarine race? But the Curtiss Airplane Company did use it to launch their seaplanes. It's closed to the public now. And if you look directly above it, you see the new headquarters of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And directly beyond that is an interesting gray tower with a clock on it. That was Buffalo's first City Hall building. Today it is our old County Hall building. But on that same site, back in 1814, Colonel Cyrenius Chapin surrendered the village of Buffalo to the British. Even though they promised us they wouldn't, they burnt Buffalo to the ground. Yep, they were burned to the ground at one time. It sure came back to become the world's largest grain port. And in 1860, Buffalo's waterfront real estate was the most expensive in the world. How about that? Yeah, investors from all over the world pretty much built most of our grain elevators. Very few were owned locally. Now, if you look through this open window between these two big trees, you see some of our buildings. Now coming into view is the Avant building. It has the letters A-V-A-N-T on that big white column on the front. Another good example of a recycled building. That's the old Dulski building. They removed all the old brick from the exterior, wrapped it up in that blue smoke glass. It's beautiful. Today it's a high-end, multi-purpose building. The marina we are now approaching is the Erie Basin Marina. During the days of the Erie Canal, this was the busiest part of the Buffalo Harbor. Today, it is the site of condominium development. Some of the most expensive housing in our city.
Like this. Well, this is good.
If you ever have the opportunity to fly over the Erie Basin Marina, you will see it was designed in the shape of a charging buffalo. It wasn't really planned that way, it just happened. Many times your flights do come over, right over the harbor. Yeah, I've seen it. The tower you see is the Erie Basin Marina Observation Tower. So if you have the energy to climb 82 steps to the top, you will get rewarded with an excellent view of the Buffalo waterfront. To give the Canada geese somewhere to go and hang out, we'll get a quick look at the Buffalo Naval and Military Park, which opened in 1979, one of the larger of its kind of inland parks in the United States. Looking on the right, on the starboard side, you'll see a cluster of large mature trees. Back in the 30s, that area was known as Times Beach, a beautiful sandy beach, and it was only open a short while before the city health department had to shut it down due to all the contamination from surrounding industry. But over the years, nature has reclaimed it. Today, there's over 50 acres there of wetland, through which they've constructed an elevated walkway and educational boards as you follow the trail. There are 3 blinds where you can spy on the birds as they migrate from east to west, all using the Atlantic Flyaway, which is what the Niagara River and Lake Erie are all part of. Over 222 different species of bird have been sighted there. So today it's known as the Times Beach Nature Reserve. You have entrance to it from Furman Boulevard, and the best part is, it's free. On the left, we are approaching the Hatch, popular place to go to for a hamburger, a hot dog, ice cream, clams. They've expanded their facility on the left to sit-down finer dining. On the right, just beyond it, is our beautiful flower garden. Here there's flowers that have rootings, clippings from faraway places like Japan, Germany, the Netherlands, and the Ball Seed Company. They just had their garden walk this past weekend. You could vote on your favorite flower. I don't know who the winner was. But right now they are a full regalia of color, so make sure you take the time to stop and smell the roses. Approaching a new docking area. This is where the Buffalo Sailing School is located. Also, there's the new docking for the Queen City Bike Ferry. Just got started last year and doing very well. If you enjoy biking on the inner harbor and you want to go and explore the outer harbor, you get on this bike ferry. It's right at the commercial slip. Pay $1, cross the river, and then you can explore the outer harbor. On the left, we are approaching a beautiful stone memorial monument. It's the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Monument, constructed in 1982, giving tribute to all those from the Western New York area who either died in that war, were prisoners of war, or missing in action. To the right of it, you see the black nose of a submarine, the USS Croker, used during World War II. It won 3 battle stars. Adjacent to that, with that big number 4 on it, is a light cruiser, the USS Little Rock. The USS Little Rock was constructed shortly after World War II, later converted into a guided missile cruiser. It served as a flagship for our 6th Fleet in the Mediterranean, was known more as a goodwill ship than as a fighting ship. As you can see, she's mighty long. She's over 2 football fields in length. Terry and Kim Pagula's dream of a hockey heaven. Going across the commercial slip is a Whipple Truss footbridge, typical of the kind of bridges used in the Erie Canal days. It does lead you to our new Maritime Museum building and our newest waterfront restaurant, the Liberty Hound. Beyond it, see the building that says Courtyard? That's another recycled building. That used to be the Donovan building. So another great example of a recycled building. If they have good bones, as they say, they're worth investing in. On the right, we see the big grain elevator, the connecting grain elevator. If you're ever here at night, this is used as a movie screen. They shoot up colors on it, three-dimensional, like a kaleidoscope of colors and different formations. And it's gorgeous. In the middle of these two waterways is Kelly Island. It has that General Mills sign on it. Kelly Island originally extended out here another 1,000 feet. There was a wooden grain elevator at the end of it. Daredevils would come from all over the world to dive off the top of the grain elevator into the Buffalo River, which was never very deep, so most of them lost their lives and had to be dug out of the mud. Well, when the grain elevator burned down, they scraped away the 1,000 feet here to make a larger turning radius for those huge lake vessels. So Buffalo's heyday was between 1850 and 1950. It wasn't uncommon then to have 10,000 people per hour depart from the Buffalo waterfront, go to different fun spots. Of course, back then, you could take a round-trip boat ride to Dunkirk and back for 50 cents. Back then, not everyone had a car. So for a lot of people, the only way to get out was by boat. Kind of looked like Venice here. There were slips cut through all over, men going to work on water taxis, strolling minstrels were here. Stephen Foster type songs were inspired here. One of them was Buffalo Gal. Sing it with me, I'm sure some of you know it, right? Buffalo gal, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Buffalo gal, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon? Dance with the gal with the holes in her stocking and her knees kept a knocking and her heels kept a rocking. Dance with the gal with the holes in her stocking. Dance by the light of the moon. Yeah, Buffalo. People came to Buffalo to have a good time then, and you're doing it now too, so good to see you here. Now on the other side of this big ship is another big ship. It's called the USS the Sullivans. It was named for the 5 Sullivan brothers from Iowa, who earlier in the war had asked to serve together. Tragically, their ship, the Juno, was sunk during the Battle of Guadalcanal, and all 5 brothers died. Because of devastating loss to one family, President Roosevelt then declared no 2 family members could serve in the same combat unit or on the same vessel. So all 3 of these big ships are available to you for touring daily from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now in just a short while, we will be docking. So we ask everyone find a seat, remain seated, so that our crew can do their job to get us safely back to shore. On behalf of Captain Woodrow and the entire crew, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. I want to remind you we do offer tours daily, Tuesday through Sunday, during July and August. So enjoy the rest of this gorgeous day. Thank you. Take good care of each other. Have a safe and happy summer. Hope to see you again. Thank you.